Welcome to Chapter 2 of Workplace and Apprenticeship 20. Today we're going to start looking at graphs, and in particular today we're going to look at line graphs. And we're going to talk about how they are useful, how to make them, and how to answer questions regarding them. And to start off with, we're going to talk about a bakery that makes specialty breads. And you can see the graph on this page shows that there are three different types of bread. The blue one is called expedition bread. The red is German rye bread, and Wochenbrot is the green. And the information that created this graph is on the top of the page, and you can see the numbers that are associated with them. So one of the skills that you're going to have to practice during this section is picking a scale that would fit with the information that you're given. So if we look on the left-hand side of this page, I'm just going to grab the highlighters here. Just give me a second. Here we go. If we look at the scale on the left-hand side of the page, which goes from 0 to 150, the reason that goes from 0 to 150 is if you look at the numbers within this question, as I'm looking for the lowest one, it appears to be 42, and the highest appears to be around 140. Then you have to pick a scale that will allow you to estimate all the values there. Now, once you have the graph, you have to be able to answer questions about it. So question B says, does it appear that any one type of bread is more consistently sold than the other? Because these numbers represent the number of loaves that are sold. And it looks like the red one is more consistent than the blue, which goes up and then goes down and then really high and then really low. And same thing with the green. There's a big jump there. And you could make an argument that red is the most consistent. And you can see also there's a time of the year where more bread is sold than others. When is that? What month would that be? And why is that? And those are some questions you'd have to look at. Another example would be precipitation. And you can see the numbers here representing the number of millimeters of precipitation received per month in Banff. And another thing to note is when you're making your graphs that you label your axes clearly. Notice there's a variable involved on both axes, that there are values and months involved, and also the general title of each axis. And then please note also that every graph should have a title of what it's representing. And then once you have it drawn, you're simply going to interpret that and come up with some conclusions, which is something that I think you won't find very difficult. When we look at graphs, sometimes we're asked to extrapolate or interpolate, and those should be words that you've at some point talked about before. Interpolation means to look within the graph, and extrapolation means to look outside the graph. So when you have a graph, John, and this graph represents the percentage of men and women that are in the workforce, you're going to have to maybe anticipate where that graph is going. So you see this graph goes to the year about 2000. Maybe the question would be, by the year 2010, what do you anticipate the numbers would be? And why do you anticipate that? What's the general pattern that you're seeing there? And so that would be an example of interpolation or extrapolation. Here's another example, this time involving number of broken dishes and the months. And the dishes could be lost or broken. And this is a catering company, and he's got to track the expenses of that catering company. And he's got to present this to his supervisor. And so these two graphs represent the exact same numbers, just shown differently. If you look at the points on the graph, you can see that they're actually the exact same points in each situation. That point is the same as that point, and that point is the same as that point. Yet, which graph would be better to give your supervisor, and why? Why would it be better? This graph shows a more consistent situation. This one appears to be more variable, where this one goes up and this one goes down and that one's up. Which one is more truth, or which one would serve James better to present to his boss, and why? And those are some things you're going to have to talk about. So here's your assignment to get practicing drawing line graphs, creating a scale, labeling the axes, answering questions about it. Don't forget to create your Chapter 2 definitions page. Otherwise, that's it for the first part of Chapter 2. I'm sure that you will do just fine.